A perfect day turns out to be anything but a perfect day for a group of aid workers / humanitarians as they confront some of war's most ridiculous absurdities. The setting is 1995, somewhere in the Balkans as the film points out, hinting that we are smack dab in the middle of the Yugoslav wars, and considering the time frame, we are either in Croatia or Bosnia, which is hailed as the most devastating conflict in Europe since the end of World War II. Despite the context, this isn't a war movie, it's not even a very serious movie, with the plot being quite ludicrous to begin with. Our team of cynical, hard-bitten, and wisecracking veterans as well as newcomers have to deal with an unexpected crisis of retrieving a corpse from a well near a small town so their water doesn't get poisoned. So they are basically kinda like wartime plumbers. Their initial attempt fails because their rope tears, so they set out to find another one, which proves to be a lot more difficult than they expected. Now I was sold on this film immediately when I saw who was cast in it. Tim Robbins and Benicio del Toro in a movie. Now that to me just sounds like the embodiment of perfection. Seriously, why didn't this happen before? Benicio del Toro is one of my favorite actors, but he usually doesn't really get to be a leading man in most of the films he is in. And I can kind of understand why, because he works best when he has to kind of play ping pong, so to speak, with his co-stars, when he has to feed off the other actors who are in the film, especially ones who are on par with his acting capabilities. Just think about his movies for a second. In The Usual Suspects, for example, he had to work alongside Stephen Baldwin, Gabriel Byrne, Kevin Pollak, Kevin Spacey. In Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, for example, alongside the likes of Johnny Depp. In Sin City, he was the perfect bad guy to the good guys of Brittany Murphy, Clive Owen, and Rosario Dawson. In Inherent Vice, a movie I still haven't seen, he plays alongside a whole bunch of major A-listers. And who can forget last year's Sicario, where he shared the screen again with Josh Brolin and the absolutely amazing Emily Blunt. You see, he's not really that interesting when he has to carry a whole film by himself. And yeah, I'm looking at you, Wolfman. He is more of a team player rather than he is a solo artist, you know what I mean? And so is Tim Robbins, come to think about it. I mean, just think Mystic River. He was awesome in that film. But would he have been as awesome if it weren't for Sean Penn and Kevin Bacon upping up the ante? I don't think so, motherfuckers. So there's great casting here for sure. And Benicio del Toro's character is undoubtedly the main character, but there isn't a single moment when he isn't reacting or interacting with someone else. You know, measuring the situation, making decisions that will affect everyone else, and being a total badass about it. And as the leader of the team, he definitely has a lot to deal with, because not only does his team have this absurd, ridiculous task of having to find a rope in an armed conflict zone, basically where having to find anything is like having to search for a needle in a haystack. He also has to deal with the nagging of an unexpected former girlfriend showing up, whose nagging might not be totally unjustified though, and it is hinted that he might have been kind of an asshole to her in the past. There is also the safety of a local boy they picked up, which he has to worry about, who of course in exchange helps them as he knows his way around this area more than they do. And there's also the United Nations involved interfering with their work, claiming that they don't have any jurisdiction anyway to get the body out of the well, due to some layers of bureaucratic bullshit. The movie really works because all of these things I mentioned aren't really treated as serious problems. Rather, they are treated more as mere inconveniences that purely serve as obstacles in just getting through another shitty day. It's almost as if the group cares much more about rubbing other people's noses in the dirt and arguing over trivial bullshit than actually doing something useful. The film is super campy, literally campy in fact, as there is a sequence in which our characters actually camp in their cars during the night because there is a cow, an actual dead cow in the middle of the road, around which they suspect might be mines planted. So what do? They just wait and stand around until someone else comes in and steps in the booby trap? Wow, that's moral. I was expecting this movie to get a little darker, and it does get a little darker when we find out a little bit more about this boy's backstory, because he is the emotional center of this film. It's not really anything major, it doesn't really bring tears to your eyes. I mean, the humorous tone is pretty much kept throughout. But it manages to not seem disrespectful or done in bad taste. The movie is really trying to show you that, okay, look, this is the reality these characters live in, this is what they have to see every day, and this is the way they cope with it. End of story. Simple. It's a very simple movie, it all boils down to the banter between these characters. And like I said, when Benicio del Toro and Tim Robbins are on a screen together, it's electrifying. Wow, sounded so convincing back there. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on this movie, folks. Thanks for watching my review as always, and I will see you later with other reviews. Goodbye!